Today, I have international horse advocate Stormy May with us from Northern California. Stormy is a national examiner and chief horse management judge for the United States Pony Club and producer of the documentary, The Path of the Horse. So I'm so privileged to have you join me today on my podcast. Thank you, Stormy. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. What an opportunity. And I will say former chief horse management judge and national examiner. That was definitely part of my formative process, but they had asked me to be in charge of the D level. If you are familiar with Pony Club, but they wanted me to be in charge of the national D level instruction program. But at that point, I was starting work on the path of the horse and really seeing that wasn't what I wanted to pursue anymore. So that's when I stepped away and realized something that felt much more true to my heart.
I love that. Yeah. When we first connected, I was sharing with you that we have similar backgrounds where we both came from kind of that show horse background and just realized that there was a better way. And I really acknowledge you for being the voice for the horse to share with people that there is a better way for the highest good of the horse. But first, I want you to share the story of how you got the name Stormy, because I just love it.
I know it's probably the question that is most thought by people, but they're afraid to ask. Like, why is your name
really?
Stormy?
They're afraid to,
yeah, they're afraid to ask.
I'm so glad.
So few people actually ask it. Yeah, it when I was probably like 9 or 10, definitely in elementary school, my friends and I were horses. We needed horse names. So, Stormy, Misty's foal, and my friend was Misty, of course. And
yeah,
my other friend became Little Vic, which was a racehorse name.
Yeah.
And it just happened to go with my last name, which was May. And I just loved it. It's like a power name. It's like, if you could be anything, what would you be? And I didn't think of Storm in any negative way. It was, it was a horse. Sure. It was a beautiful horse. So that's how I got it, and it stuck. And for most purposes, that's the name I use.
What I love the most about it, I mean, it's such an endearing story, but that the name stuck with you through adulthood, that you've embraced that. And that's really that embracing that love and that connection to the horse. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad I wasn't afraid to ask, because I feel privileged that I know now. So thank you. I want to share with people that your documentary, The Path of the Horse, they can watch for free on YouTube, which I think is beautiful that you're sharing that for free. And can you just share a little bit about how that came about and that transition, from horse trainer to traveling the world and doing the documentary? And we don't want to put any spoilers out and say what it's about. They have to go watch it. But I want to hear a little bit about that transition. What was calling you?
It was born out of desperation. I had been a horse trainer for, over 10 years at that point. And I was really good. I had plenty of clients. I had plenty of horses in training, but I had a couple of horses. One was my own, and one was a pony that somebody sent for me to start as a kid's pony. And these two particular mares were just saying no. They didn't want to do what I needed them to do. And it was one thing when it was my own horse, which was a huge Dutch warm blood mare, and I got into natural horsemanship. This was in the 90s, and I'm ashamed to say now that I really fought with her for 11 years before recognizing that she was right. But the pony was really what tipped everything over the edge, because, she was a big pony. I'm a small person. But it was so easy to just kind of manhandle her and just say, yes, you will do this. I will force you to do this. And it seems like the more I forced, the more she forced back. She just would have none of it. And, I was able to ride her for about a year, but it was just killing me inside. I had to be so precise. She would never have become a kid's pony. She would have been that kid's pony that nobody wants to ride. She was so sensitive. She'd try and bite you as you got on, bite you as you tighten the girth, bite you as you got off, bite you as you wanted her to go forward. So it wasn't right. It just wasn't right that I could, or I could send her to somebody else who would just get stronger. I was the gentle one. So that's when I said, no, I can't do this. So I had read some books and watched some videos, people like Klaus Hempfling and Alexander Nevzorov and Linda Kohanov and Carolyn Resnick. It's like, wow, okay, these people look like they have something that creates a real willing partnership. So I did what no horse trainer should do. I bought the pony myself because I couldn't imagine her going somewhere else and having a decent life. And I really looked at her and said, who am I? Who am I to force you into something? I truly believed at the time that if she didn't become a good riding pony, then she would end up as dog food or end up as, something worse than what she knew at the moment.
Right.
So I had to really question that. Is that really true? And the spoiler, I still have her. She's 18 now.
Oh, I love it.
She'll be 19 this month. And she's amazing. She is amazing. And she's taught me so much. But yeah, that's when I did. I literally sold the farm. I sold my ranch, boarded the horses that were mine, sent home the horses in training that I was done with. And took 2 years of filming and editing to really bring that together. There were a lot of different trips. And in between the trips, I would come back and practice with my horses and try and find this different way. And I found it. It was not what I thought it would be, for sure.
It never is, right? It's never what we think it's going to be.
No, it was not. But it was what I was really looking for. And I would say that the big turning point in that was when I met Alexander Nevzorov's horses in Russia. And meeting his horses was just a cathartic experience. It was they were so empowered. They were so, just come right up to you and say, hi, who are you? And none of this, like I've been hurt and I've been mistreated and I'm a little wary about what you're about. It was like they were full people. They were full in themselves. And I thought, wow, I never realized this is what horses really are. This is what they can be.
You'd never experienced it because all these show horses from the show world are shut down. They're not allowed to express themselves and have their own autonomy. You're going to be this today because I said so, right?
Right. I say you do. And Alexander had found a way to have this two-way conversation that empowered the horses and that empowered the people that were with them. So after getting back from Russia, it's like, okay, that's all I want. All I want was to have this equal two-way conversation and to have these empowered horses, and of course this pony, Sophie, she had already been leading me on that path. So it was wonderful to have her as a teacher all this time. She was 3 when she was sent to me. And my other mare who was having none of it also was like, yes, finally you've gotten it. And she was so wise and so loving. She always treated me like I was her foal. She'd love to just stand over me and swish flies and be motherly. So
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So once I realigned myself and readjusted my expectations and my dreams to what they were originally, which is just to really understand horses and it's like you want the best life for them. And then society, humans brainwash you to think, well, that means you win at shows. That means that you are a trainer and you work with lots of horses. But it wasn't that. It's that for me, it was that I understand the horses and we're I'm empowering them just like they were my own children to go out and have their own life and do their own thing. Not that they have to do what I say, because who am I to know what's best for them?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a
And
line. I still think I do know what's best sometimes when it comes to hoof care and different health things, but
you don't just let them run all over you and do whatever they
Right.
want.
Right.
There's still healthy boundaries. There's, relationship, because I feel like people who are still in what I'd like to say the old mindset about stuff, in the horse show world, and they're, to a degree, they're just doing what they know to do because somebody taught them that, and they have to make a living and that's all they know. Right. But when they start to see some of this stuff, they'll argue it a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
A lot.
So let's talk about that a little bit. And the reason I bring it up is because I have an acquaintance who was wooed by a big time show trainer. When I say wooed, because it took him like over a year, the guy kept saying, you need to, he'd see him riding his horses at the shows and be like, they're different. They're quieter. Why are they going around differently? And he kept begging him to come work for him. And it took him over a year of wooing him. And he finally because it was a big deal, shut down his own training business. Plus he's a farrier and, moved his wife and children halfway across the country to go work for this horse trainer. And the horse trainer is really happy with how the horses are going. And his mind was like, well, maybe I can make a difference for this guy and he can learn how to do this. And then train all of his horses this way. And it's great that the guy was open to having him come and train differently, but he was just like, oh, well, you got this horse going really well. Now we can sell her and make money. But still not interested in learning the approach himself. So I guess it's kind of baby steps, but how do you address that with people who aren't open to it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people I just walk away from, honestly. People find me and maybe they think they want to work with me, and we have some real heartfelt conversations. And one of them is often, if it turns out that this horse is not going to be suitable to even be ridden or to show or to do what you want to do, what happens? Is it going to be sold? Are you going to get another horse, or are you going to stick with this horse no matter what? Because the truth is, once you start really listening to the horse and understanding them, very often they say they don't want to be doing what you're doing. And if that's not okay, and that means the horse gets sold and you get a different horse, then just do that. It's not a good fit to work together, because it's scary when you do truly understand the horse and when you want to give them what they're asking for, which might be a month off of riding, might be a year off of riding, might be the rest of their lives off of riding. And so if it's more about the riding than the horse, then it's just not a good fit. Go to the trainer down the road and they'll whip them into shape.
So let's talk about a little bit how you approach this in your work. You were talking about it's this connectedness around perceptions and freedom and consciousness and around why you have the horses, right? Explain how you do your work around this concept.
Yeah. Well, when I'm working with people, it is really about raising consciousness and about finding our freedom within and our sanctuary within, so that the horse can be free to be themselves. Because that's where horses are really trapped, is in our concepts of who they need to be. I bought you, you need to work for me. The horse doesn't have that concept. The horse is just, has no choice in the matter. That, they're living where you tell them to live. They're eating what you tell them to eat. They have very, very little autonomy. And I love that word.
I do too.
I think the new thing that I'm excited about is promoting autonomous horsemanship. What is autonomous horsemanship? Oh my gosh. Giving the horse a full choice in what they can do, And obviously in captivity, the horses can't be fully autonomous because they're inside of our fences. But within that parameter, how autonomous can you have that relationship? And the cool thing is, the more freedom you find in yourself, the more freedom the horse gets, the better your relationship gets. And the more they open up levels of communication that you may not have known was even possible. So
and doesn't everybody just want peace and freedom?
Exactly. If you trace it back, what really do you want with horses? They are symbols of peace and freedom. But we're brainwashed by our human society to think that, well, that comes after your horse is well trained, after they're bomb-proof, after they can win at the show. But it's not true. I'm sure the more you win, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get more peaceful. It doesn't get more free. It gets...
No, people just still want more exactly. Ribbons, or, oh, I want to get another horse that can do bigger trot, better lead changes. It's that ego based more, because they're looking for that external validation, which comes at the expense of the horse usually, when really the answer always lies within, but very rarely are they looking within, and also within the horse. But you have to take the time to make that connection with the horse to even see that. So I love that you're raising the consciousness, the awareness around that.
Yeah. Let horses be who they were born to be. And in that, you're in harmony. You're in harmony with life. You're not trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. You're finding the heart. I mean, and horses are harmony when they have enough space and a stable herd environment, and they really have what we're missing, which is that presence, that peace in the moment, that strong social bonds, the ability to have disagreements and have boundaries, but have them in a very beautiful, harmonious way. So I think at this point, they have so much more to teach us than we have to teach them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I have a 2-year-old that he was weaned too early, not by me, but by the breeder. And he just wants to touch you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He always wants to touch you. My mom's like, why is he always touching me? And I'm like, why is it a bad thing?
Right.
Because she's like afraid, oh, he's going to nip or he's going to bite her. And it's like, but if you just let him touch and connect for a moment, and then he gets it out of his system and he's good, but he just wants that connection. But people don't always think of that. They're waiting, because they're such big animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting for, the bite or the nip, or I'll get stepped on. Or I always have people be like, why are you walking behind your horse? And I'm like, they don't kick because they kick for a reason.
Right.
So people don't always understand that. And when you have that connection and that understanding, they're not going to kick you.
Yeah.
Taking everything to a different level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People will say that, with my horses, and I know my horses, I know when they will kick and when they won't kick, but it's
right.
It's like, well, don't walk by a human because they might kick you too. They're probably not, but you're as likely to get kicked by a random human as by this horse. It's again,
at least verbally kicked.
Right.
So this journey of yours, which really was Sophie, the pony?
Yep. Sophie
she was the catalyst of this journey that led you down this path of doing this documentary, The Path of the Horse. No pun intended. And now you're still working with people, but not in necessarily the capacity of a horse trainer, a traditional sense of horse trainer. And as you're doing this work, you're finding that you're wanting to take it to even another level, going a little deeper by creating a sanctuary.
Yeah.
So tell us about this.
The world needs places where people and horses and all animals can come and be themselves. It's okay to just be yourself. I think when there are these more physical places that people can come and experience it, especially in regards to horses, because we have such a long history of humans oppressing horses. But to be physically in a place where, no, we don't do that with horses. We don't hit them. We don't tell them what they need to be doing. We're learning with them. They're co-creating with us. So, just let's cut to the chase. Let's not wait for government to be fixed. Let's not wait for politics to be fixed. let's create these places where we're just doing it in a more holistic, harmonious, healthy way. So I have this group of us. We're called Many Paths to the Heart. And we're really about creating both inner and outer sanctuary. You really can't have a sanctuary in the physical sense if you don't have that inner sanctuary within yourself. And the kind of inner sanctuary I'm talking about is where, if we have a dog, the dog just wants to be with me because they know that it's safe and healthy. I have fences to keep the horses out of my bedroom. It's not really to keep them in, it's to keep them, so I can have my space. So it's creating that sanctuary within yourself. And maybe you just have one horse and it's at a boarding stable. But if you are that sanctuary for that horse, yes, that's what we're talking about, is creating yourself as the sanctuary. And then the next step is to create a bigger physical sanctuary. For me, I definitely want to create one near where I live here so that people can come and experience this. We're not there with the funding yet. So if anybody has funding ideas, I'm definitely open to that. But I'm working with a team of people that are around the world, in Sweden and Switzerland and all over the US, and we're dreaming it in. We're really,
there's power in numbers, right? When you bring like-minded energies together, the manifestation, it will happen. It's all in divine timing.
Yeah, it feels good. And it's going to succeed because it feels good right now. It feels like, yes, this is we've already have it in some sense. It just needs to keep expanding into the physical more.
Right. So share with the listeners, what this sanctuary is going to offer for the horses, around autonomy and how they get to live and be.
Yeah, they really, as much as possible, we want to make them co-creators, co-advisors, inhabitants of this place. So yes, I'm sure there will still be fences to keep them on the land and out of our houses. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll have some cohabiting horses and humans.
Well, the Bedouin tribes had their Arabians live in the tents with them. I don't know why we can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm open to that. But it's going to feel really different because, you go to a place to be with horses and you think you're going to do something with them. You're going to lead them, you're going to brush them, you're going to ride them. And this will not be that. This will be, the horses are just there. They have their own ideas of how they want to spend the day, and they're going to get to do that. I mean, of course, if there's medical things that really need to be done, we're going to search our hearts and try and find the best harmonious solution with their input. But we don't know. I mean, and that's part of the beauty of this exploration, is it really is about finding that voice in the moment, that calling of, okay, this is what brings peace. This is what I want to do in relation to this beloved horse that is here in front of me.
And the horses are such a big symbol for freedom, and we don't always get to see them in their natural place of being free. And, I grew up on a farm, on hundreds of acres, and I just thought that's how everybody kept their horses and animals, and got to see the wildlife and the turkeys and the deer and the raccoons and everything just come and go as they please, until I moved to Arizona, and I was like, oh, horses just live in a 12 by 12 stall and go in the sand round pen for an hour a day. And I'm like, I didn't know people did this, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that not everybody gets to experience what I grew up as just was a way of life. So I love that you're offering this sanctuary for people to come and have this human horse experience and just be in it, and getting to have a two-way conversation with the horse, right? You have talked about how we really need to explore that. Let's speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, that really starts when you can truly honor their no. No means no. If they don't want to be brushed, if they're walking away, it's okay. If they don't want their feet done in that moment, you have their foot up and you want to pick it out, but they put it down. Can you honor that? No. And for most horses, that have been traditionally trained, or even natural horsemen trained, they're shut down to a greater or lesser extent. And, that's why it seems like, he just lets me do anything with him. But once they start seeing that you'll honor their no, of course, then there's a lot more no, which is fine. But it's like they have to test that out enough to feel safe again. So an example of picking up the feet, of course, it's scary to let the horse put its foot down. And the fear is, well, he's never going to let me pick it up again. But it's just not the case. It's there is a point when you let them say no enough, when they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's okay. And I trust now that if I feel uncomfortable, you're going to let me put it down. So it's no big deal. So that's just a completely 180 different mindset. Then you can't let them get away with that.
And what about honoring their yes? Right? Like my baby, I want to touch you. I want to connect with you right now. Okay, yes, let's do that now, because you want to do it now. Not because, I'm busy and I'm cleaning poop, or I got to be here, I got to be there, but taking that moment to also honor their yes.
Yeah.
And listening to them.
Yeah. Just like a child, they have something to say. Are you going to be there and listen and reflect back to them or not? And that's, with a horse that wants to come up and touch you a lot, you also have to talk about boundaries. Is that really okay with you, or is that too scary to you? And if it's too scary, I would say, don't make them wrong. Just you leave. You just go behind a fence where you feel safe. Right. So don't push them away. Don't tell them they're wrong for doing that. But if you really feel unsafe, go behind a tree, go behind a more dominant horse, go behind the fence. You walk away.
But pushing them away is not, to me, not honoring their yes.
Exactly.
And so by and we shouldn't punish them for it.
No, because they're not doing anything wrong.
The other thing I love about the sanctuary is how the importance of the herd getting to live together. And, we know that movement for horses is so important, but you talk about relationships, long-term relationships, and stability, and reducing stress. And I'd love for the listeners to hear that from you.
Yeah. So, growing up here in California, there's a lot of riding stables, and there might be a herd of, say, lesson horses that are all turned out together. But that is just the most aggressive place. It's, the horses aren't comfortable in their bodies. There's new horses coming and going. That's just not a natural horse thing. That's us trying to have something convenient. So to honor the horses, we wouldn't do that. And that's why I really think sanctuary is the answer rather than a rescue, because even in a rescue, horses are coming and going. You know, you want to get them off to the next place. And that's just not who they are. That's not honoring the wisdom of who they are, who we are too. But we got to start somewhere.
Right.
So the more we can have this stable group with enough space that if they don't get along with somebody, they can go off and join another group or have another best friend. I think for people who don't have many horses, for me, the smallest group I've seen that really works well is like 4 horses. So preferably 2 mares, 2 geldings, and they tend to pair up. But, if you get 3 geldings and 1 mare, again, it's in general, it's too much stress because all the geldings want to be the best buddy of the mare, and she's getting annoyed and they're getting annoyed. It can usually work out with 1 gelding and 3 mares, but you really want even more than that. And it sounds like, well, the horses are going to have a better life than we are, but I think that's part of the gift. They're leading us to see, like, well, maybe we do need to have better lives ourselves, where we have safe places, where there's something really metaphorical about if the horse doesn't have to serve us, that it gives us permission. That, I mean, number one, we're doing a lot less in horse care and training. They know how to survive. They were here millions and millions of years before us. Even most domestic horses, if they're reintroduced to a more wild life, they do great. So having them in sanctuary gives us permission to have a more harmonious life ourselves as their caretakers.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is I need to get myself another mare.
Yes. If you're having this sort of issues, you're like, how did you know?
No, I'm joking, because I was like, what do you need 4 horses for? But I only have 1 mare. But it
okay.
But 2 is a horrible number, and 3 is a horrible number, but there is more harmony with the 4. But I'm like, but if she needs a mare, I need another horse.
You do.
Because I don't think you can have too many as long as you're caring for them. But, but what's something that's been showing up for me lately is these people that think it's okay to have a horse be alone. And, and I had a client reach out to me, the horse was distressed, and I've tried talking to them before. Oh, she's fine. She can hang out with the cows on the other side of the fence. And it's like, but what you don't understand, it's like the equine and the bovine don't speak the same language.
Yeah.
It's totally different languages. And around here, I notice it all the time. People will turn their horses out in the pasture with the cows. And like the other day I was driving by and I saw there was 3 horses out with the cows, but you know what? Those horses weren't hanging out with the cows. They were together standing under the tree, swishing each other's flies off their, faces with their tails. They would never do that with the cow.
Right.
And people, I just don't understand how they feel it's okay for a horse to be alone. They don't sleep. They never get that sleep. They never feel safe. They need that herd, even if it is just 2, but they need that each other to scratch each other's withers and interact. That herd interaction is just, don't you feel it's necessary for not just their survival, but for them to thrive as a living being. It's like birds need to be in flocks, horses need to be in herds. And even when there's just 2, you'll see them mirroring each other. They just have this innate bonding that they have with other horses that, I go back and forth because I know some really kind-hearted horse people that, have had some bad experiences trying to turn their horse out with other horses. And
it's really hard when traumatic things have happened, and they're coming from the right place, and of course they want the best for the horse, but they try it and bad things happen, and who's to say, I mean, quality of life versus quantity of life. It's kind of that whole idea that you want to bubble wrap your horse and keep him safe versus giving him something that might fit the emotional needs better, but maybe it means a shorter life. I don't know. So yes, I totally agree. Horses need each other. Herds are where it's at. And honestly, I would probably advocate for a shorter, more wild life than a bubble wrapped, 50-year-old horse who's never been out with another horse.
Sure. Yeah. And we as humans are social animals. We're herd animals. And, we know this from the pandemic. People don't do well being locked up and isolated. So why would we expect that from our animals?
Right. It just comes down to who are you listening to? And, 90% of trainers will say, yeah, he's fine. You don't want to risk him being out with that in the turnout with another horse because he might get kicked. Yeah, he might get kicked.
Well, here's the thing is they're fine, right? Until they're not.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And what we don't always acknowledge, and I feel like some people don't understand, is that emotional imbalances manifest into physical issues. Right. And so they're just, the horse is fine being locked up. But he's lame. But this, but that. But as long as he's not out with the other horse getting kicked. And they don't think of that interconnected part. I always say that health and well-being is not just for horses, but for anything, people, dogs, cats, it's a four-legged stool. We have physical, chemical, emotional, and the spiritual. What is their spirit of being? What is your spirit and how you show up? What is the interconnectedness of your spirit? Are you listening? Are you listening to the horse's heart and soul and his yeses and his nos?
Yeah. That's what we're listening for. Yep.
So very good stuff, Stormy. I appreciate your time, and I feel like I know horse women can talk and talk and talk, but I want to honor your time today. And can you share with people where they can find out more about you and the sanctuary?
Yeah. So my main website, stormymay.com, just like it sounds, the weather in the month. I have everything linked there. You can watch everything from the Path of the Horse. I have a free web class there. I have a new series I'm working on called Peace and Horses. And the first 3 of the 4 episodes are available there. And then there's also a link to the Many Paths to the Heart group, which is, you can find it directly at manypathstotheheart.com or through Stormy May. And that, we don't have really the physical sanctuaries yet, but we're working on the inner sanctuary with the members. So there's a community that people can join there for free or for paid support. It's up to you. But we have
monthly, and it's a nominal, very nominal.
Oh yeah,
support.
Yeah. And if you can't pay it, that's fine too. You still get full access to everything. So we want to make it inclusive. And we've been having some really great monthly calls there. And we have it's not Facebook, it's a different platform where we can share our experiences and our questions. So it's I
love that. And no trollers, no people bad mouthing anything. It's just a like-minded community of horse advocates coming together. Beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really inclusive, and it's well, you can't join if you believe this. It's like, no, this is a place for everybody.
So can you take us out today with some wonderful Stormy May equine wisdom? What are the horses wanting to share with us today?
The biggest thing that that I continually get from them is presence, is that ability to come back from whatever disturbance is happening back to, oh, actually in this moment, everything's fine. There, the bills, the repairs, the things on our agenda, yeah, that they can happen, but they can happen in a harmonious way if we have that way to just come back to grazing, come back to the present, come back to this breath. So for those of you who are lucky enough to have time with horses, just go out and be with the horse. Be interested in what they're interested in. Follow them grazing. See exactly which particular grasses they're picking at. Watch their ears. What are they tuning into? And you can do this with dogs and cats too. Just sit with them, be with them, consider them the wise teacher. If you were a wise teacher, what would you be teaching me right now? And maybe it's just relax. Don't take things so seriously. That they're so full of wisdom when we switch our own mindset to be open to that, to see the wisdom that they're trying to share with us.
Yes. And I find that people have a hard time. They have, in this busy, noisy world, they have a hard time learning to be present with themselves, let alone somebody else or another horse or animal. I'd done some previously, and I'm going to be doing some more just presencing groups, just coming in a small group, and let's just learn how to be present within ourselves, because we have to learn how to show up for ourselves before we can show up for the horses and the animals.
Our last call was about how to find the yes and the no within yourself. It's a really beautiful call. And the one before that, we did how to identify the yes and the no in the horse. So yes, that's so key. Like if you can't use your own body to determine what is a true yes, I want to do this, and what is a true no, you're just like a sailboat without a sail. You're just flying where the wind blows.
Well, thank you for sharing your equine words of wisdom today. And I look forward to visiting the sanctuary one day, sooner than later. I feel like I can see it. Every time I say the sanctuary, I just have this vision of what it looks like. And it just makes me feel good on the inside, just thinking about it. So I'm so excited for you and support you. And listeners, go to stormymay.com to find out more about it. Watch the documentary, The Path of the Horse, and all of the other beautiful projects that you're putting out. And go to conscioushoofbeat.com to find out more about the presencing groups. And until next time, listeners, embrace your inner horse crazy, and more importantly, enjoy your horse.